Spot. Felis catus is your taxonomic nomenclature an endothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature? Your visual, olfactory, and auditory senses contribute to your hunting skills and natural defenses. O Spot. The complex levels of behavior you display connote a fairly well-developed cognitive array. And though you are not sentient, Spot, and do not comprehend, I nonetheless consider you a true and valued friend.
Cut up some schmoop fruit for this week's
Initial thoughts. The initial thoughts. Initial thoughts.
Hey there, best of trekkers. Happy Thanksgiving for all, those that are celebrating. Got my cat here, ode to Spot. As you can see, this is going to be a little different of a format, as I make a giant lasagna for our main course this year. Stay tuned at the end as I go through the whole recipe. But now, we're here for Lower Decks, particularly the 7th episode of the 5th season, Fully Dilated. Early on in the season, I thought this was going to be the conclusion of Tendy's sister giving birth by the name. Not quite so. But before we even get into that, I just want to say a few things about last week's episode, since I was too sick to weigh in on Of Gods and Angles. Honestly, there wasn't a lot going on. But I've got a single like for the dreidel that poops pyramids, and a single dislike for the Boimler to Anna B-plot. The episode was boring, but still the best of the Greek god plots in Trek. Anyway, let's reset the counters to zeros and get to the perp universe. Let's start off with a like for getting back to the season arc of Quantum Fissures, bringing a purple Enterprise D to the Prime Universe to battle evil clones of Tasha Yar? I'm only a little disappointed that we didn't find a purple Tasha Yar clone. What we do get is every callback to every time that there's a time discrepancy and someone gets stuck on a pre-warp planet in an episode of Trek. The most overarching of which is this planet is similar to the one in Voyager's Blink of an Eye, which is directly called back to here. And speaking of many callbacks, we get an awesome girls trip moment with our 3 female main characters to retrieve whatever the Perp D left behind, before it contaminates this society, even if it causes them to miss Taquito Night. I feel like the Orange and Dorian thing going on here is a general callback to multiple Vulcan and human societies we've encountered over the years, with a slightly new twist. I have a like for T'Ana doing the classic McCoy reference, I'm a doctor, not whatever the this is. Despite it causing the ladies to be stuck on this planet for a year, I have a like for the little com-badge-topped shrimp cocktail skewers. As T'Lyn would say, a very ostentatious skewer. I guess a crater's a crater, but the one they're searching for the perp universe tech in almost is a callback to the Borg's method of just scooping civilizations off the face of a planet. And what they find is an obvious like for bringing back Brent Spiner as Data, even though he's said how many times now that he's never playing Data again? It's a big callback to finding his Prime Universe head from Time's Arrow. As 4 months pass, this also starts to feel like Voyager's gravity trying to survive in this abandoned farmhouse, which, going back to the other callback Blink of an Eye, was the last episode in the franchise to feature a matte painting, which evolves over the course of the episode. Here, the abandoned farmhouse they move into keeps evolving with a windmill, water wheel, and fixing the broken windows in the house itself. This includes them growing some blue plants similar to those we saw all the way back in Trek's beginning, The Cage. Now, if I haven't listed off enough callbacks in a row here, there's the obvious Inner Light callback, which Mariner takes as a sign that she's supposed to find a husband or wife or lifelong friend to bond with and learn to play the flute, which leads to her multiple times going to her favorite place, jail. Back on the farm, Tendi and T'Lyn were both put up for the job of Chief Science Officer before they left, and Tendi takes it way too seriously through the episode. But that leads to a like for the line, my science resume will be more padded than a Romulan shoulder. And the callbacks don't stop coming. There's the completely on-the-nose callback of being in a crazy Carbon Creek situation, and Tendi powering Data's head with a hand crank generator to teach her science stuff that will get her the chief science officer job feels a little like Spock making a mnemonic memory circuit out of stone knives and bearskins. I have a like for Data sympathizing for both being the first of their race to serve on a Starfleet bridge. Also, as he mentions, he's been just ahead before, back in Disaster. After her first jail sentence, Mariner brings up being some Edo-level BS, and I think Wesley Crusher would agree with that one. Back on the Cerritos, we find out that Lundy smells like Elkar's electrocuted shrimp cocktail, and as 10 months pass, Tendi's jealousy of T'Lyn grows, until they end up tied up by Snell the Lurker and work through their issues. I have a like for general character growth on the girls' trip, and I specifically have another like for Tendi saying Data's fully functional while helping them escape. I bet the purple evil Tasha Yar clones agree. Maybe that's why Data ended up just ahead. Anyway, we've got like the 3 millionth callback, and this one made me laugh enough to give out yet another like for Mariner learning to play a flute made of soap like Picard. And specifically this like is for trying to play Frere Jacques. Older Trek seemed to always use public domain songs to save money, and Frere Jacques comes up multiple times, including Picard with his Ressican flute in Lessons. As they embarrass Snell towards the end, him summoning a less-than-violent mob is another almost callback to a Data Stuck on a Planet episode, Thine Own Self. My only dislike for this episode comes as they went to this planet to prevent cultural contamination, but as far as we know, they left a bunch of crude electronics, including the basis for a transporter Tendi was building. It's possible it happened off-screen with the roughly week they had between the beam-out signal and leaving, but it's an oversight either way. Purple Data convinces Freeman that after spending a year with them both, that the chief science officer position should go to Tendi and T'Lyn in a co-position. Right before he's stuck into a probe Kalar style and shot back into his own purple universe. I like this episode a lot. Best in season so far for me. We'll be talking more about this episode Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Buffer Time. But I'd like to plug a very special live stream next Tuesday, December 3rd, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. In honor of surpassing 1701 subscribers, I'll be doing a 12-hour live stream ranking every live-action episode of Trek. Come chat with me all day and tell me where I'm wrong in my rankings. So, until I see you again, enjoy this lasagna recipe.
Alright, let's start with our meats. We're going to uncase 6 garlic and cheese sausages, brown them for about 10 minutes before adding half a pound of Hamburg. Crumble it all up until browned. We're going to need 1 large onion, 1 green pepper, a few tomatoes, and a carton of mushrooms. We're using a 5-quart pan in total. When you're done with your meats, deglaze your pan and use that goodness in the sauce. Don't skimp on the olive oil. You can go pretty hard because we've got a lot of vegetables to fry here. We're going to start with the green pepper since it takes the longest. You want to cook that for about 7 minutes before you add anything else. Onion and mushrooms come next. After about another 7 minutes of cooking those with the green pepper, add your tomato. We're going to give everything about another 5 minutes, adding salt, oregano, basil, and black pepper. We can add our meat back in after that 5 minutes. We'll be using 45 ounces of pre-canned tomato sauce in total, reserving about 7 for later. We'll come back to that. On top of the fresh tomatoes, I'm adding another 15-ounce can of pre-diced tomatoes. I also like to add a small 7-ounce can of paste for thickness, and the 7-ounce can of paste worth of water. Stir well, give a taste, and season more if necessary. At this stage, we're going to add a fair amount of onion and garlic powder to the mix.
Missing something, I'm not sure what.
And that's something not sure what, the half a bulb of garlic that needed to go in just at the beginning of the cooking of the vegetables. Not halfway through the set stove on low and let it simmer for an hour. We boiled a box and a half of lasagna noodles across 2 pots because in the past we've had to do multiple runs and it adds like 20 minutes of cooking time and Getting your water back to temp time each layer, we're going to mix 32 ounces of shredded mozzarella with 16 ounces of mild cheddar cheese. In a separate bowl, we're going to take 24 ounces of cottage cheese and 32 ounces of ricotta cheese and mix them together with 1 egg. Preheat your oven to 350. Here's where that 7 ounces of reserved sauce comes in handy. You're going to coat the bottom of your pan with it so that the noodles don't stick on the bottom layer. And now a layer of noodles, followed by a layer of sauce, a layer of soft cheese mixture, cheddar and mozzarella. On the second layer, we're going to add more noodles and sauce with ricotta mix, but we're not going to add any mozzarella cheddar mixture to this middle layer. And again, noodles, sauce, cheese mixtures, top layer of noodles, and remaining mozzarella cheddar blend. Bake for about an hour. When the edges of the cheese are golden brown, it's done. Serve with garlic bread and enjoy.